What is going on, everybody? Kind of going at this just with an open forum format. So any questions, feel free to ask. I need confirmation really quick that you guys can hear me in the chat. I know there's a little bit of lag, so let me know. Let me know about sound quality, picture quality for the camera I have. Let me know. And then we will get going. Can you guys hear me? Can I get confirmation in the chat? Thank you, PC. Oh, hey, Costume Co. Sorry, Costume Co. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. Thanks. Living My Rhapsody, PC Gamer, Miss Vengeance, Lady Wolverton. I see some friendly faces in the chat, so I appreciate. Oh, and a super. I almost gave myself a super chat. That'd be weird. What's up, Vitaly? So what we're going to be talking about first is a little bit of Game of Thrones and the political endgame, or as far as I see it. I saw a theory pop up yesterday that was hitting the mainstream outlets, and of course it was a theory from Reddit, which me and Smokescreen during YouTube Confidential kind of discussed this about how the Redditors get a whole lot of credit. The mainstream media loves to give Redditors so much credit for all their theories and so on, and then they tend to ignore YouTubers. And I'm not playing a victim's card here. I just find it a little bit funny that I think it's because it's so easy for them to go on there and then find like a official timestamp for when they posted whatever theory, and they can be like, oh, some Redditor figured out the hold the door with Hodor 4 years earlier. And it is what it is. So, I mean, plenty of YouTubers, I guess, steal from Redditors and vice versa. So it is what it is. Oh, what? Come on, PC Gamer. You're making me feel bad already with the super chat. Thank you so much. My first Patreon ever and my first super chat ever is the same person. I can't thank you enough, PC Gamer. That definitely helps. We'll get a new camera in here soon. $10. Thank you so much. So this theory was, and remember, guys, this is open forum, so you can stop my babbling at any moment and ask anything that you want, and I will address it. Hey, Jez. Oh, Jezebel's here now, so I better be on my game because she knows her shit. So the theory was, and it's not really so much of a theory as it just is like an observation, which I believe it to be correct, but it made me start thinking about the theory of the three heads of the dragon. It's essentially the three heads of Reformation, being Dany, Jon Snow, or, Aegon Targaryen, whatever you want to refer to him as, and Tyrion. So this theory is, or not theory, the observation is that Tyrion knew in the season finale when they bring the white to Cersei that Tyrion, and this makes sense, that Tyrion would know that Cersei isn't going to give a shit, and Cersei is not going to come to their aid. So why is he goading Dany and Jon to, bring the white to King's Landing, or if not goading, why isn't she stopping? Or why isn't he stopping this, saying, it's a waste of time, she's not going to go along with this? So the idea is, and I like this because I don't like the idea that he made some secret pact with Cersei or anything. And it makes a lot of sense, especially with all the errors that Tyrion made in season 7 as far as the invasion went. The idea is that Tyrion went there to show this to Cersei, knowing that she would not give a shit, like I said, but knowing that Jaime, seeing this, would give a shit. And this would be the final push to get him to leave Cersei and come to their aid. Because what was the big problem for Tyrion at every step? That Jaime, as a battle commander, just outwitted him. He pulled a Robb Stark on him with Castle Rock and so on. So he knew that this would bring the battle command. Oh, Costume Co. $20. Thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for the donations. And if you have a question or anything you want addressed, let me know, guys. And yes, Costume Co. I will actually link her when I get a second here. Again, this is only my second solo live stream, so bear with me here. I want to link her channel, and I want to do a video as well with you, Costume Co., especially if you could do some insight on Peaky Blinders. She is a professional costume designer, and she breaks down the process and the meaning behind what people wear, because it matters in every single television show, every single movie. It is a vital aspect, and it's so great to actually have an expert having a channel. That's something that's rare these days. So anyways, we'll get that on there. So the idea is that he knew Danny and John would not go along with having Jamie join their side, because, you know, Danny the whole time has been like, oh, it doesn't seem like you want to hurt your family. You know, she's kind of even, you know, alleging that Tyrion is purposely trying to lose to Jamie and stuff like that. So this is what brought the three heads of the Reformation theory back to me, because it really does make sense. Now, we all could probably agree and disagree with me if you want. Oh yeah, Peaky Blinders, good. If you guys don't believe that there has to be some type of political change by the end of this series. I mean, it's one of the main themes of the show, is that this feudalistic, you know, way of governing isn't working, and war is bad, blah blah blah, and something needs to change. So a revolution is when the people rise up and make a change. Now, the people that we have that are leading right now, if you go by the three heads of the dragon theory, you have your Dany, you have your Jon Snow, and you have Tyrion. Now, each one of these people alone don't really work as a ruler or making any type of successful reformation. So a reformation is done from within the government. All three of these people are, you know, nobles, and they can actually make this happen. Jon is now the king of the north, so they could potentially have a successful reformation, but I will explain why I don't think they could do it alone. Dany is unwilling to compromise. When things go against the way she wants it to go, after she successfully negotiated her situation with like the Dothraki and all that, that is an example of her successfully like adapting and turning a situation in her favor. She does that early on, but she stops doing that, especially in Astapor in Slaver's Bay. Like when she got married to Khal Drogo, she definitely like adapted to fortune, Fortuna, whatever you want to call it, and made that situation better. But after that, she was unwilling to really go against any of your core beliefs. Like Tyrion says it to her right away when she finally gave in and opened up the fighting pits, because she was so against the way of the old over there that she wouldn't make any concessions. You know, she's like, all slavery is bad, but she, again, wasn't, in slavery is bad, of course, but she abolished it, and then she didn't put any type of like, you know, government in place that would actually like help the slaves then, you know, become independent and have work and so on. And she's unwilling to make any type of concession to anybody. She just sticks to her core beliefs, and if she doesn't get her way, she essentially just goes with the dragon method and the nuclear option and blows everything up. Tyrion then comes in, and Tyrion, you know, I think he says something along the lines, this isn't verbatim, but of slavery is terrible, and war is terrible. I can't solve both today, so I'm going to start with one. And he starts with phasing out slavery. He puts a reasonable and a realistic timeline on for them to actually abolish slavery. And, you know, like he puts something into work, like a social program, and actually is willing to go against. He's not just like, he knows slavery is terrible. He knows that war is bad for everybody, but he knows he also just can't say no more war, no more slavery, especially in a society like over there in Essos, where slavery was, you know, the way that they ran their economy. So he was more realistic with it. And the same thing, oh, another super chat from Joanna, one of the first people also that, or if not the first person that's helped me start my channel, and my lovely moderator, soon to be co-leader with me over at Amino Apps. Thank you so much for the super chat. And I know it keeps getting stopped here on what I'm saying, but the point is, Dany is unable. She has the right ideas. But again, she's also going over to Westeros just wanting to not really change the feudal system, but she just believes she's the right feudal leader. And then you have Jon Snow. So that's your best example of your person. Now, he's not necessarily part of the, he's not a pleb. He was still a bastard of, the Starks. He grew up in Winterfell. He grew up with a lord's training and all that. But he is the closest thing we have to somebody that isn't part of the noble class that has came into power. Now, Jon has shown that he is willing to negotiate and he's willing to make concessions, unlike Dany in the later seasons, with his, use of the wildlings in recognizing that burning them, past the wall was the right decision. But he has that stark issue of, doing the right thing no matter what. And that's what I'm talking about. He doesn't do it in the same way as Dany, but he is stuck in his ways still, even though he is the, great, you could call him a unifier, the great unifier. He is unable to still go away from what honor calls for, what honor in this society calls for. So that gets him in trouble. Obviously, he got him murdered. So Tyrion is the perfect person to work with both these people. And Jon is also the perfect person to work with Dany. That's why the three heads of the dragon, I believe the theory that it's the three-headed reformation. You have your Dany, Jon, and Tyrion. All three of them together make the perfect leader for Westeros. They could form with their ideals, take the best ideas and ideals and their morals and their stances on these actual issues, and you combine them and you have an open forum, open debate for them to actually, address these things, and something good could happen. So the thing is, we're probably not going to see like a triumphant. We're probably not going to see all three actually come to power at the end of the series. That's why I think that it's definitely going to come down to a baby within Dany and Jon, which has been heavily, heavily hinted. I mean, it mentioned it 7 times in one episode. And I think that Tyrion will most likely become an advisor to them. But I want to know what you guys think about Tyrion playing this game of knowing that Cersei would probably never concede. She would never join their side. You could never trust her. But knowing also that Jon or Dany, especially Dany, didn't want to hear, we need to go get Jaime. Because there's no way she'd be like, I have Grey Worm and you're out of here. We need Jaime at our side. Do you guys think that there's actually we'll see any type of, suggestion or any type of clarification in the last season that was his plan to go and get Jaime for them to be successful? Because, I do find it hard to believe that Tyrion would have went to King's Landing believing he could convince his sister. Especially when she essentially has a white that is her like main bodyguard. Let's see. Oh, Denise with a $9.99. Thank you guys so much again. I always lost rewards. And I'm gonna get caught up here. Let me see. My jelly but sailor. Oh, and In Deep Geek is in here as well. Thank you so much, Robert, for joining. I almost pulled Robert in because I'm trying to get used to doing these on my own, but I almost put Robert on the spot and had him tag in here. So does anybody actually think that Tyrion would have went to King's Landing with the sole purpose of turning Cersei to their side, with the actual belief that that could really happen? And does anybody actually think that this series was somebody just taking over the Iron Throne? Thank you guys so much for these super chats as well. No, I might need you. Because we're not going to have much time, and I've talked about this before, at the end of this series to actually come to any final, like there can't be this revolution, because again, that has to come from the people, and that would take too long. They already have to have their fight with the dead. They already have to address the Golden Company, which I don't believe is going to necessarily go against them. I believe they will turn them to their side. I think the Golden Company will break their contract with Cersei. And yeah, vengeance right here. And then I think that we'll see hints of change. We'll see hints of this reformation. And then I think that the generation to come, since it is the saga, and the child that is definitely happening between Dany and Jon, will come hopefully to a seat of power and be aided by maybe somebody like Tyrion. And we will see hints of a parliament. We see hints of the Citadel getting their shit together and actually writing about what's happening and not trying to, put magic under the rug or ignore certain aspects, not have their personal agendas as much. It was just like the Citadel are like the monks of their time. Every monk was usually still in every like source account you had for people. They were always still in service to a certain lord. So if you read the source account from like a Saxon monk at the time of warfare, you're going to have them definitely leaning towards their lord that they serve, and their enemy is definitely going to have whoever's writing for them. It's going to be, yes, their point of view, and it's definitely going to be a little bit jaded. So I think we'll see a little bit more importance on the facts, not what's convenient for whoever's writing for a lord. That's why a parliamentary system to a point would make sense for Westeros and so on. But Cersei is playing them all. I think if she's pregnant, I bet it's Euron's. Yeah, they have announced here that body double is coming back for Cersei. So I don't know what they're exactly going to be doing, if that's going to be for a birthing scene or if it's just going to be for maybe some raunchy Euron Greyjoy scenes or something like that. But she's definitely back. Audio glitching. Hold on a second. Let me know if it's getting better, guys. Let me know in the chat. Is it still glitchy? How's it sounding, everybody? Better? All right, thanks, guys. Yeah, this is the best internet service in this part of North Carolina, so there's like no hope of getting it better unless I dig my own fiber optic lines, which I believe is against the law. But yeah, so we have the body double coming back from Cersei. Yeah, custom the shadow baby. Yeah, I don't imagine anything good coming out of her. I mean, what's better, Joffrey or a shadow baby? They're both pretty awful. Let's think. There's also I think this was brought up actually on your stream, Robert, I think by Sir Hunt, about the Valonqar theory having something to do with the birth, the Cersei dying during birth, an umbilical cord situation. I won't get into it too deep because I'm not a doctor, but I don't think that I don't know about that. If that would fulfill that prophecy, her dying during childbirth. But I think it's an interesting one. I mean, the only way it would make sense with strangulation, that would be the baby dying, not Cersei. But the use of a body double hints something's happening. It's either they're just really wanting a sex scene with Cersei where you have full nudity, which I would find a little bit odd even for Game of Thrones to have to bring in that body double, or some type of really graphic birthing scene. So I don't know. My goodness, so Jezebel, Euron is definitely Cersei's baby daddy. Yeah, but wasn't she pregnant far before any of that? Yeah, nothing good coming out of Cersei. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for them to bring in that body double, it has to be some pretty extensive, nude scenes. I don't really know what they would be doing as far as that goes. But I mean, they have a lot to cover in these episodes, and I guess they said they're going to be stopping the actual filming, and I think I read June. I don't see how that's possible. But hopefully they do it, and they do it in a manner that's going to serve the series. That's gonna not be a huge disappointment. It's hard to end anything. But George R.R. Martin on George News, he 2 days ago finally sent out a blog post saying, sorry guys, I won't be blogging as much. I'm going to start to finish the books. So it looks like he might be getting his priorities in line, and he says he wants to get Winds finished. So, I mean, is he 2 years behind now? Yeah, I think 2 years. Yeah, so he's apologizing to his people that like follow his blog posts. I guess that's like his main concern. So yeah, it's like he better jump on that. I can't imagine what his editors say. Yeah, I don't know when the alliance started. I mean, I'm pretty sure she gave the news to Jamie in the first episode of season 7. Correct? I don't know. So I think that it would be. I think it'd be highly unlikely that it's Euron's child, but I mean, Euron, I guess, would be the best option for a stepdad at the moment for her, him or Qyburn, I guess. But as far as the Game of Thrones with the theories go, I think that an interesting one for you guys to check out, and I think GOT Academy has done a good video on it, is the 3 heads of the Reformation. I kind of like that, especially with the similarities with the Wars of the Roses and all that, that Dany is kind of the Henry VII. Actually, thanks to PC Gamer here, my first Patreon that I ever had, I did a Owen Glyndor. He was a Welsh hero. I did a whole video, bite-sized history, and he actually was used for Robb Stark's, the influence of Robb Stark as well. And this is a Welsh hero. And Henry VII adopted this prophecy called the Wmab Deragon. And it's Welsh. Try to say anything correctly in Welsh. And, you know, if you can do better than me, then God bless you. But it's called the Wmab Deragon. And that is kind of where the dragon symbol comes from and what George utilized. And it's the savior that was supposed to come from Wales. And Owen Glyndor was one of these prophesized Wmab Deragons, and he ended up, you know, eventually failing. But then Henry VII, the first Tudor king, came and he utilized the dragon in the prophecy Wmab Deragon because he was exiled to Wales for a while, and he got a whole bunch of people behind him, a whole lot of the Welsh forces behind him before the battle of, it's the last battle, it's the one where Henry wins, for the last actual, where King Henry VII killed Richard. He ended up winning that battle because he had a lot of Welsh forces that joined him, and people that joined him at the last minute, and so on, utilizing that. So I think that they're definitely playing a little bit off of this, you know, the dragon not only is a symbol of Targaryens, but it's a symbol of another prophecy for the 3-headed dragon, and so on. It's very interesting. The Owen Glyndor, actually, he's not a very well-known figure in popular culture, but George definitely utilized him for not only Robb Stark, but Daenerys Targaryen, and so on. Yeah, Bosworth. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of Bosworth, but yeah, that is how he landed in Wales specifically, just like how Dany landed on Dragonstone. He landed in Wales specifically to garner up support, and he utilized the prophecy. He knew how to play that right, the Wmab Deragon, because it was the person that was going to save them from the oppression of the English. Because you have to remember the Welsh were, you know, not always a full part of Britain. They were fighting for their freedom until Richard II set up more castles per square mile than still anywhere on Earth, more fortifications. But that's definitely a good video to look into. So do we have any Game of Thrones centric questions? Do we have anybody that, like I said, truly believes that we're going to see, you know, Cersei jump on board, or that Tyrion really thought Cersei would jump on board? And I think it would make a lot of sense, especially because, you know, Tyrion definitely needs Jaime. Tyrion is a good leader. He's a good governor, as we saw him play the game fairly well, at least in the television series for King's Landing. But he's not a military leader. He doesn't know how to command troops. Jaime has shown that he's efficient in that area, and I think he's going to be, and I think he'll be the 1,000th Lord Commander. But no matter what, I think that he is going to be an addition to Danny, to the alliance that wouldn't have been welcomed any other way. Let's see. Yeah. And then we will jump into a Westworld a little bit. So let me know, guys, because again, this is besides my thank you stream, my first attempt to do a solo stream here. So I got some pictures, and I'll make sure they come up on the screen that we can go over for Westworld. Can we see these? Thank you for stopping by, Robert. Yes, Costume Co. Reddit did definitely predict it, and I'm sure that like Newsweek will feature that Redditor in a actual article just praising them. When I confirmed Jimmy Simpson returning just via tweet, when Jimmy Simpson actually gave me first confirmation that he was coming back as Man in Black, somebody else, a Redditor, put my tweet up on Reddit, and it was on the front page of Reddit. And that was like, I'm like, what that could have done for my channel would have been huge. But of course, another Redditor got it. So yeah, I think that's a lot of us YouTubers are a little bit salty during with these Redditors getting so much credit. But like I said, it goes both ways. Okay, so you guys can see the pics in Costume Co. Feel free to jump in on this. This actually would be a good thing to have you on for as far as what these costumes mean. These are the latest, and Robert sent these to me before our live stream earlier. The releases. Now, this first one is obviously a promo pic, but in Costume Co., I want to know what you guys think about. Is that somebody, that drone? Do you guys think that's all CGI? Or I definitely think that's somebody in a suit, right? That's part practical. That's got to be part practical. Because a drone, it's been officially stated that this is a drone. It's being referred to as a drone host, and it's something that Bernard was not aware of. So that if Bernard was not aware of it, it means that it is part of the bigger picture for the park, because that is where he is the sole creator, now that Ford's gone, of the Westworld bots, but or hosts, excuse me. So anything that Bernard doesn't know of is part of the larger plan. So we have to think who is are we going to meet any actual talented engineers now that Ford is gone and Bernard is only one? Like, who is the person that designed this? Because we have not seen any other techs. And remember that Ford created Bernard using Arnold's not really conscious, but his backstory and all that, but he needed him almost to successfully continue making the hosts the way they had been making them. So there's not too many people that can do what they do. And that was the big part of the intellectual property being tried to get it actually out of the park, because other people want to know how to do this. And you have to think about that. How many companies do you think these days have intellectual property that literally nobody else can do? Like, as far as AI, I know some people in AI actual business and stuff like that, and everybody's there's competing companies, but there's nobody that's that far ahead like Westworld. Delos is so much further ahead, evidently, than all the other companies in this world that we see, that they are trying so hard to smuggle out this intellectual property, because literally nobody else can make hosts. So this makes me wonder, who makes this drone host if the intellectual property from Ford and now Bernard is so vital for making it? So there has to be another talented creator. And yes, I'm going to get into a little bit about how Ford is gone or not. Let's see. I want to see what Costume Co said about this costume. Yeah. Okay, good. So yeah, that's a professional telling me that does look practical. It definitely looks practical here in this picture. But as far as Ford, I think that Okay, Anthony Hopkins, I'm just going to stick with he is not going to be back. They've said it blatantly, but that's always open for argument, interpretation, whatever. But also, his sacrifice would mean so much less if it really wasn't him that died, because he did that so Dolores would be pushed over, would have her final cornerstone moment, and she would have the capability to make her own decisions. Ford has to stop controlling the host in order for them to have free will, as we saw with Maeve, who we thought was having, who was completely sentient the whole time. She was actually part of Ford's narrative still. So him letting go is him letting them be free. So it's one of those situations where, like other shows have fallen prey to this. I'm going to stop screen sharing here for a minute. We'll talk about this. Let me know if you guys can see me now that is gone. Let's see. It should be coming back on. Do we have video? Okay. Other shows have fallen prey to this situation. This is just my opinion, but a lot of people seem to really be pushing for Anthony Hopkins to be back in. And I get it. It's because Anthony Hopkins is fucking Anthony Hopkins, and he's so great. But here's the thing. Other shows, okay, a good example of this is Homeland. Homeland was supposed to kill off, now I can forget the actor's name. I didn't watch Homeland past season 1. The gentleman with the red hair, but he ended up not dying until season 3. They were supposed to kill him off season 1. They fell to the fan pressure, and they kept him on and actually changed the whole narrative to be surrounded by him, because they fell victim to all the pressure from the fandom. And sometimes the fandom doesn't necessarily know what's best for the series. Now, Westworld has already plotted out that they are going to be on for 5 seasons. That's how long they needed. They actually made them sign a contract to HBO that they, would keep them on. I'm sure there's some conditions in there that if it did really bad, they'd get canceled, but whatever. They said that we need 5 seasons to tell the story we're going to tell. Their story definitely needed Ford to be gone. If they just gave in the fan pressure and brought Anthony Hopkins back just for the hell of it, it would actually suffer for it. Homeland suffered for their decision of giving in and making it about, again, I cannot think of that actor's name, but he's in what's that, Billions or whatever. But it fell prey to them actually just giving in and giving people what they wanted at the moment. The story will suffer if you just bring back Anthony Hopkins because the fandom demands it. His sacrifice is really essential to, especially Dolores' cornerstone, because she really didn't have one, a specific one before that. Again, though, the younger actor coming in to play him, and he still has a role to play, because we're going to see how Delos was started. We're going to obviously see the transition with the Man in Black, with Jimmy Simpson coming back. So we're definitely going to still have like an essence of Ford, but we won't have Anthony Hopkins. And I think a lot of people have to just kind of let that go. I think that, like a lot of people, they just want to see what they want to see at the moment, and they don't like, what would it add? What could Anthony Hopkins add to the story? You have to really think like the larger picture. What could he really bring to the picture, him physically coming back? Unless somebody can give me something, off the top of their head, I can't think of anything. Like his sacrifice is what has launched season 2, which essentially is the first season, because the first season was a prologue. It was a prequel. So we needed these events to happen and so on. And yes, Anthony Hopkins is great. He did a terrific job, but I just don't see him coming back, and I don't see him lying to us about it. But as far as the whole pain being the way to get the host back to, to bring them to their center, I recently didn't like that so much. I just kind of went with they're going off the theme of a painful birth. There's no such thing as a painless birth idea. So I'm like, okay, I get it, but I think there might be other ways to bring them around, other ways to bring them to be self-aware without me making them suffer. But I forget who brought it up to me or where I read it, but there's a saying is that joy can be ignored. Pain has to be acknowledged. So to get these hosts' attention and to get them to deviate from their narrative and to make choices off instinct, Like Maeve is one of the best examples of going. Her cornerstone is when the man in black, who was, you know, going through and trying to find himself through vicious acts, he went and he killed Maeve's child. Maeve then broke her narrative and acted off instinct. She acted without any, you know, coding in that moment, you know, and that was the first case that we've seen of somebody doing that. And she did that because of pain, and she did that because of love as well. But joy can be ignored. Pain has to be acknowledged. And I think that was a really good saying and a really good example of why, yes, it might be possible, because somebody brought up in me and Robert's live stream that maybe Dolores is going to be, you know, putting other hosts through trauma to get them to come around. And I really didn't like that idea, even though it's very in line with the show. But after realizing this in the last few days, because I'm doing my rewatch right now, I really felt like that was, you know, I think that that is going to probably happen, that Dolores might go through those same brutal methods, even though I would like to believe she would try a different way. But it is true that pain has to be acknowledged. You just can't. Joy can be something that a strong person can actually, you know, just separate themselves from. Pain is there. It is there. It's there physically. It's there mentally. Blah blah blah. I think that Maeve's example of a cornerstone is the clearest one. Dolores's is a mix between her and her other narrative, Wyatt. So it gets a little bit confusing. So essentially, Ford gave her a solid cornerstone, is my point. Her cornerstone became solid when he sacrificed himself, because Arnold tried to do what Ford did. Ford was not only fixing his own mistake, he was fixing Dolores's mistake. And he did it through the art. He did it through the Michelangelo picture, which went along with her narrative because she was an artist herself, and she made the connection when they did the whole creation, you know, explanation at the end of these. It was in the finale as well. And then he explained to Dolores why she needed to do what she needed to do. Arnold just sacrificed himself. Ford went in and he kind of played with the situation a little bit, but he fleshed it out and knew she needed more time for that to actually put her back on track, or put her to the path of being self-aware. So if Ford is not really dead, then that doesn't stick as her cornerstone, and that doesn't actually make her self-aware. So it's vital that Ford actually died, is my point. Let's see. Let me go back to this chat here. Okay. And as for thank you, Iron Throne. As for Samurai World, it is officially Shogun World. They have announced it. That makes sense, because Shoguns are, you know, they are just the generals of the samurais. It makes more sense, because essentially calling something Samurai World would be like Westworld being called Cowboy World. So they have stuck with Shogun World, in I guess in the interest of being as factual as possible. But I do think it's interesting that they went with Shogun World, because Shogun samurai movies and Western movies are almost, they translate across. The samurai is the cowboy of the East. The Seven Samurais was made into the Magnificent Seven. A lot of Westerns have been actually made into samurai movies and vice versa. So I think it's really interesting that they have picked, you know, it just essentially, like I said, the Eastern version of our cowboy. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And it is officially Shogun World. The host will no longer be reset. Yes, Joanna. That again, yes. Now here's the thing. Joanna just brought up a good point here. The host will no longer reset every night, so now they will be forced to explore the paint. Now, will Bernard start resetting them? Because again, he's going to have to maintain some control. But this is a valid point from Joanna, because that's another reason Ford had to go. Ford had to leave the situation, because he needed to stop controlling them, and he was the one resetting them. He was the one that knows that the intellectual property they were trying to get out, which did get out most likely in Maeve's bag that she left on the train. It's so important to really recognize, like I said, that the intellectual property of Delos is so important that because nobody else knows how to do what Ford and now Bernard is the only one that knows how to do what they do. Like he says it, nobody can do what we do. So it is really nobody else can just jump into this position. That's why it kind of makes me wonder who made this drone host. And I hope we're going to explore that. Let's go in here. Yeah. Well, and I love that theme too. I love that theme of, it's like the Eternal Sunshine with the movie with Jim Carrey on The Spotless Mind. It's kind of like a metaphor for that. It's like, would we choose to have the pain? Because Ford says that he does it, as a service to them. He protects them from the pain, that we have to suffer, that we have to endure. But then Evan Rachel Wood has that excellent line where she says that pain is all I have, that she would choose the painful memories over the other option, which is not remembering her father and her mother ever. That she'll take the pain because pain is all we have. And that's another example of joy can be ignored. Pain must be recognized. Maeve is the Clint Eastwood of Westworld. I think that I'm doing my rewatch right now. And believe it or not, even with how obsessed I am with Westworld, it's not something that I have rewatched a lot. And I've not rewatched it for months. So upon this rewatch, I can't think of a show that I've ever enjoyed more rewatching than Westworld, because things like I was kind of a big I was kind of a hater on the multiple timelines, because number one, I was running the community, and I fancy myself an intellectual and kind of a authority on screenwriting and stuff like that in my own head. So yeah, I caught on to that they were messing with the timeline just when every other Redditor in the world did. So it seemed kind of like a cheap trick to me, but knowing that and then rewatching the series is so great, because you really start to recognize when it is the 35 years back, when it's the 30 years back, and when it's the present. You can actually find the scene when it's no longer Dolores hearing Arnold, it's her talking with herself, and it's still, Bernard's voice, but you can start to figure it's very enjoyable to watch. And that's why I'm coming out with my second half of my episode 1 breakdown. And then I promise I'll make them shorter, but there's so much to explore in the pilot of Westworld. You have to think about what Westworld is. I wasn't in the science fiction whatsoever when I heard about Westworld. I was like, oh, I actually read about it in Entertainment Weekly or Rolling Stone. I was like, oh, I had never seen the original movie, which I think is terrible, by the way. Yul Brynner is one hell of an actor, but I do not think it's great. Overall, it's not the best movie. But anyways, I was drawn in the Westworld so much, and you have to think they break all the screenwriting rules, all the storytelling rules. The plot is moved forward by the antagonist, which never happens. Ford, he ends up working for the host, but that he is an antagonist for the first 9 episodes. He's the one that puts our plot in the motion. Another thing is we have a protagonist that there's really no stakes for, because number one, their memory is wiped at the end of every single day. And they, as of right now, which is something that's going to happen in season 2, we're going to find out how they can be killed. But in season 1, Teddy is killed every other minute and he's brought right back. So you have no stakes, and you have a protagonist that doesn't have any more than a 24-hour storyline. So there's really not like an anthology, there's no way to move it forward technically. That's a very hard way. If you presented just the idea that you are going to write a story, you're going to go in for your meeting with a studio, and you're like, I have a story. The protagonist, it's a Groundhog Day situation. Same, they get wiped every single day. Also, they can't die, so there's no stakes. And we're going to mess with a whole bunch of timelines, not tell anybody, and the plot will be progressed by the antagonist. They would be like, how'd you get this meeting? Get the hell out of here. And they make it work. In a lesser show, would have done the twist of Teddy being a host, not a human. That would have been their pilot. That would have been their big twist. They almost let you know right away that Teddy's a host. They reveal so much in this pilot episode. It's so ambitious. That's why I forgive Westworld a lot for the plot holes. Preston Jacobs, I love Preston Jacobs, and he's doing his recap right now, or his watch series. And I love those because I get it. I love that dry humor. And he is definitely bringing up a lot of plot holes that Westworld has. And I've said it before, if you want to bring up the plot holes in Westworld, you better have a lot of time on your hands, because there is, for Ford's master plan to actually work, there's so many moving parts in that it's not a chess game anymore. It's not even blackjack. It's a drunk guy in Atlantic City rolling the dice, are playing roulette. You know, I mean, it's so much could have went off that would not have ended with his perfect little situation. But I mean, that's if you're just looking not to enjoy yourself, go into that. But it achieves so much more by all the themes that it addresses and the issues that it addresses. It is rather funny, like he points out, that Dolores is expected for her loop to work to go and drop a can every day, right? She runs the dairy farm in Sweetwater. What is the can? It's a can. She goes to the store every day to get milk, and she runs the dairy farm. So yeah, I mean, like stuff like that. The writers probably should have made that a can of peas or something, but it's nothing that ruins the plot. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I still enjoy it. BBM, what's going on? Oh my God, they killed Teddy. Blah blah blah. And that's going to be another thing. As far as Teddy goes, we know that Maeve. You know, I loved Maeve's storyline. That was upon the first watch. Maeve's storyline was my favorite. Evan Rachel Wood's acting was just so impressive. Her range was so great. I didn't care so much for the narrative, but like I said, upon rewatch, you really start to appreciate it because it's almost better knowing from the very get-go, so you can identify, you know, where things are. It's kind of like a fun game. So I highly recommend it. But how about Teddy? What is going to be Teddy's cornerstone? Because Teddy, he's the hero that set the loose. He is kind of like I said, Maeve has Hector. Teddy is Dolores's. You know, his cornerstone, the only thing I can really put it as is his time with Wyatt. That was when he felt pain, especially when he realizes that it, you know, was Dolores. So I almost think like the betrayal by Dolores or Wyatt, however you want to look at it, will be his cornerstone. If anybody has any insight on that, let me know. But Teddy coming around, and Robert brought this up, or somebody brought it up when we were talking in our live stream about how will Teddy feel once he becomes completely self-aware, and what's going to bring him to that point is something that we need to look out for, as well as, and I don't know how long we've been going, but as far as Westworld Girls, they got 5 seasons that they want to cover. So let's think, what is after the revolution? Because the revolution is supposed to be subdued when we start season 2. You don't have 3 more seasons of the aftermath of that. Do you guys think that the Man in Black will actually have a redemption arc? In my opinion, yes, because young William is somebody that we're supposed to like until the end, obviously. So why did they have us develop empathy for him if we weren't supposed to actually care about him as when he gets older, the Man in Black? I do believe that there's going to come a time when the bigger picture happens, this drone probably being part of that bigger picture, and there's going to be humans that we didn't like in season 1 that are going to align themselves with the hosts. And the perfect person to make that happen is Bernard, since he's walking the line of human and host more than anybody else. But I believe people like Charlotte Hale have the potential for being on the host side, since we do see that Charlotte is going to be put through hell during that. So maybe she'll develop some empathy for the host. But when the bigger picture comes into play, I do think that will be your storyline for like season 3 or 4, definitely 5, of them trying to stop whatever this bigger plan is, because I guarantee it's not good. Let's see. Thank you. So Costume, please, everybody, I'm going to put her, let me try to link you really quick. I'll link you, Costume Co. Everybody needs to check out our channel, and I need to talk to you about doing that live stream. Thank you so much for stopping by and for the super chat. But as far as the overarching themes and overarching storylines, I think that there's going to be an alliance. That after this war, there will be an alliance. So we'll deal with the war this season, but season 3, 4, we'll probably see the merging. We'll see the unification to a point. And I do think that the Man in Black is a redemption story. You know, I mean, he went about getting his love of his youth back in a very sadistic, disturbing way. But I do think that, hey, we forgave Jaime Lannister. In the first episode, he banged his sister. So why not forgive the Man in Black? It's HBO. It's quality entertainment. Well, another... Vitaly, thank you so much. I cannot ever say your first name right. No, thank you. Especially one of my Patreons. Thank all my Patreons, everybody in here. So I think it's important to look at what the bigger story is for Westworld, other than the philosophical stuff, which I like to ramble on about. But what is the actual overarching storyline? Because if it was just about a robot revolution, they could have done that, and they could definitely do it in the 2 seasons. They could have even done it in 1. So we have to think, what is going to carry the story from season 3 to season 5? Because they stated they needed 5 seasons. So what is going to be the 3 through 5 storyline? Because, I mean, this all-out war has already been resolved. If they were going to have the whole revolution play out in season 2, I could see all of season 3 being a resolution. So even if they did it like that, you still have 2 seasons to fill. What are they going to fill it with? I think they're going to fill it with another fight, but it's going to be a fight where the hosts are along with the humans. And like I said, an important thing to take note of is that they have specifically stated on numerous occasions that they are going to show us how the hosts can be killed. And that alleviates one of the problems, like I talked about, for, you know, like there's not a lot of stakes other than their mental trauma, but, you know, a base audience can't really get behind that. We will learn how they can actually be, you know, shut down, not dropped, but actually they cannot be brought back. So like Dolores has been there for 30 years and she's been through guys like Swiss cheese with all the bullets went through them. So that'll be interesting to see how they go about that. And I hope to eventually my buddy David, who makes AI, I want to try to get his channel in here as well. Go to the Mino. You can see his work. He has Westworld-esque work that he does from his home, and he works in the industry. Let's see. I think the last thing I'll say about it is you definitely have to consider. Hold on a second. Just want to make sure I'm thanking everybody properly. Really quick. I think I missed a whole bunch of people. Sorry about that. When looking at the first season, we have to think about people like Lee Sizemore and people that were doing the narrative within the narrative, in how they're going to, because it looks like Maeve is going to have him hostage in one of those pictures that I was showing earlier. So what are they going to do with their newfound responsibility, their newfound power that comes along with responsibility? How are the hosts going to act when they do? Because we do see that Charlotte Hale is, you know, she gets pretty screwed up, but she's not dead. So evidently they choose to not, you know, full out murder everybody. And anybody that remembers Hector and Armistice at the end of season 1, I mean, they killed what, like 17 people in 10 minutes. So they definitely could have. So I think it's going to be, you know, one of those situations where it's like, well, we can't, you know, we want a revenge, but we can't become what they are. We have to be better. A story like that. So I think that's something to definitely consider. But I think that, you know, I recommend anybody that hasn't seen Westworld, obviously, to go see it. It definitely, if you watched it, watch it. You got just over a month, or yeah, just over a month until season 2 starts. Do a rewatch. It's worth it. I'm going to be watching Altered Carbine. I have not seen it. I think that Vitaly, one of my Patreons, is the one that recommended that to me. I'm going to watch that. I'm going to do a few reviews on that. I want to get together with Costume Co. and do a Peaky Blinders. That's my idea. At least I'll do anything she wants, because I just love talking to another expert, or somebody that's an expert, somebody that's actually qualified to talk about what they're talking about, which she is, which in her channel is great. To talk about the costume design behind a show like Peaky Blinders would be amazing. I want to get the In the Mix thing going back with Milt and BBM. BBM, go and support him if you guys are not already in the trivia that they do. But I want to try to get that stream going again. I also have floated the idea around in some chats, but I want to try to get a book club together. I don't know if anybody's interested, but we pick a book, you know, we do like a package every month everybody gets. We can sync on Goodreads, and we can do private live streams. I'll probably start it within the Patreon first and see if we can expand it. But if anybody would be interested in something like that, make sure to message me. I want to go really quick. I apologize, you know, for sitting here and reading. I don't know if I'm getting to everybody, but I need to get Costume Designer's channel in here. And I want to thank everybody else who gave me super chats. That's just, I can't even express how that makes you feel. I love creating content, and, you know, I was just able to finally get my full Adobe suite for my After Effects, which I'm going to start integrating into my content. I can now pay for that because it's $20 a month through my Patreons. I have 5 Patreons. They're so loyal, and, you know, like I work a real job. But it's hard to, you know, have extra money to get things like I need, like an extra camera, which I'm working on my way to get. But, you know, like that $20 a month that I get, you know, to pay for that creative suite, that means so much to me, and it makes my life so much easier when it comes to creating content. Because you get to this point when you make stuff that it's like you want to create, but you get so run down from your regular day-to-day plus this on top, and then, you know, not only spending like literally sometimes countless like 17 straight hours creating a video that's only 20 minutes, it gets so hard to sometimes justify putting some even more and more money, not just your time, into it. So like any relief, like I always tell my Patreons, thank you guys so much. Like I appreciate, you know, it doesn't matter if it's $3 a month, I appreciate the hell out of it, because it helps so much. It makes the grind so much easier. You know, it's like I would never say, and that's what I do in my Patreon announcement. I get a little bit angry with people when they say, oh, if I don't start making $2,000 a month on my Patreon, I'm going to stop the channel. It's like, why'd you start a YouTube channel? Did you think that YouTube was something that was easy to get big on? Because it has 400 hours of content uploaded every minute. It's like, you shouldn't do this with the idea of becoming rich. But it's like, yeah, I would love to be able to buy my camera. You know, I'm going to buy it no matter what, but every donation that's given to me makes that be able to happen so much quicker. And it means so much. It's like, I'm always going to improve the quality of my content. I'm always going to keep researching and reading and taking courses, you know, not only online, but I actually went back to school when I've already been to production school, because it's been so long for me to learn some skills that can just help me create better content for you guys. And the suggestions and everything and the support I get, it means so much. And another Patreon right here. Yeah, Amber Lynn, thank you so much. You know, in this right here, guys, this is, hopefully that link works. This is Costume Co's channel. And she, like I said, she's an expert. She went to school for what she does. She knows what she's doing. And the art of costume design is so vital in the you know, process of creating a television series, movie, whatever medium it is. It's vital, and the amount of thought that goes into it would surprise you. It's fascinating to me. I can't wait to have her on. Joanna, oh my. Joanna has done so much for me. She helped me start the actual channel. She works with me over there. I feel bad you even donating, Joanna. Thank you so much. Yeah, I can't log into, yeah, Patreon. They need to get for the money that we give them as a percentage, they need to get a better app, because I can't read anybody's messages unless I go through my email. Yeah, Iron Throne has a channel. Go to him. PC Gamer is working on a channel. I know that. BBM, as I said. I'm sorry if I missed anything in here, guys. Chrissy of Old Stones. I know she has a channel. Lady Wolverton. Go to her channel. She does a great, her, Misha and I believe AK and Bran do a great book club, kind of I don't know if you guys call it a book club, but whatever, you guys do your your reads on ASO on a Song of Ice and Fire, which is fantastic. And let's see. Porg. Yeah, BBM, I'm gonna have a freaking intervention with you and your pops. Milt, and hey, Milt, yeah. Well, I want to get the In the Mix stream going again. I was just getting mad because it was my internet as well, and it's just not getting better unless I start digging fiber optic lines and connect them to Raleigh myself, which again, I don't have the skill to do, and it's definitely illegal to do. Yeah, but Milt is always been a big help. And I'm actually, last thing on Westworld is something I was talking to Milt about, because the size of Westworld has been revealed. I believe it's about 500 square miles. So, and it's an island, so you got to figure that, you know, like more of a circular shape. You can kind of figure out the size of that. But I was, because he's a geophysicist, I was working on trying to figure out where Westworld would be if it's on our planet, which I believe it is. And I'm leaning towards it's probably one of the islands, like China makes their own islands now. They just dump a whole bunch of sand and gravel into the ocean, and they're making their own like military out. It's so they get more more of the whatever the sea, more rights to where they are, because so many square miles off of your land is, you know, it's not international water at that point. It becomes theirs. So whatever. I think that they definitely, it would make sense that if they wanted to control, like Westworld has control, that they would utilize this technology that exists even now for us, where they're pouring their own islands. So I want to get with him and talk about if that's even possible. And Cammy from Game Banners of Thrones, which every time I say it, I think it sounds like I'm like plugging some weird fetish porn site, but I'm not. It's a fantastic thread and a fantastic group of people that support me and other content creators. A lot of content creators on there. Can't thank Cammy enough, who sends out messages for everybody. And yeah, thank you guys. Like I said, I'm trying to do these by myself on purpose, just so I can get used to it and get better at it. Obviously, I'm going to keep doing stuff with Robert from Indie Geek, Costume Co. We're going to do something soon. And hopefully we'll get the In the Mix going again. So I got the Westworld videos going out. I'm going to do the Altered Carbine, and, you know, I mean, Game of Thrones stuff. I mean, it just, once I see something, I get inspired, and there'll always be Game of Thrones here and there coming out. So thank you to my Patrons. Thank you to everybody that is here to support me. Thank you so much for the super chats. Again, I can't even tell you how much that means. And, you know, hopefully not only will you see the improvement in quality, but I'll grow in size, I'll grow in quality, and I'll always try to do the best job I can do for you guys. And I'll always try to be unique and stay true to what I want to do content on. Some of my proudest videos are the videos that aren't the most popular. Yeah, like the one I did for you, PC Gamer. I love that Owen Glendor. I had somebody from Owen Glendor's actual family, a descendant of him, contact me, and they showed it to their grandfather, and they said the grandfather came to tears over it. So I mean, that in that video has like 100 views, but I don't care, because that's something I'm proud of, and it taught me so much about that culture and stuff like that. So I think that there's a way for small content creators to not have to worry about getting 60,000 views on every single video they upload, but just worry about satisfying themselves, which, you know, is the reason you should make content, and making the people that are loyal and the people that like the content you make happy. So yeah, and I just couldn't do that without you guys. There'd be no reason to do it. So thank you guys so much, and make sure to go into the links, and I'll link everybody else as well. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for sticking with me, and hopefully the next one will be a little less all over the place. But thank you guys again, and I'll see you soon.